you gotta do is hit him and then run. That's one out of the run.
People kept asking me, are you coming back? When are you coming back? And I told them, I know when it's ready. I know when I'm ready to come back. And I knew one day that, I'll wake up and I decide to come back. And if it didn't happen, then I wouldn't come back to boxing.
Errol Spence Jr. sharpens his skills alongside Terence Crawford, who offers guidance and support in camp as Spence prepares intensely for his showdown with Tszyu.
Yes. That's why I need so many punches. I know, that's why
Errol Spence Jr. follows training advice closely, working hard in camp while showcasing sharp speed, improved timing, and focus.
Errol Spence Jr. follows training advice closely, working hard in camp while showcasing sharp speed, improved timing, and focused determination ahead of his upcoming fight. As Terence Crawford tweeted on X, Errol Spence Jr. "Good seeing you back out there, get to it, I'll be there supporting," showing strong support and standing firmly behind Errol Spence Jr. demonstrates powerful active punching on the heavy bag, combining strength, consistency, and endurance in training while building momentum and confidence ahead of his upcoming fight. In an interview, Errol Spence Jr. expresses confidence, stating he believes in himself, feels great in training camp, and is fully committed to improving through intense gym work and preparation.
Just me waking up and deciding to come back. You get reserved, thoughts about, question yourself, do you want to come back or do you? But, that day was more like, yeah, I want to come back. It was 100%. So, that's what I went with.
Why is training with the running shields?
It's great. I like it. I'm learning in the gym. It's 24/7. Like I'm just learning something. I feel like my brain is working too. Not only just going through the motions and just working on stuff that I've been working on for 10 years, 15 years. It's learning new stuff, and I feel like a kid again in school, just learning new.
Tszyu confidently suggests that facing him without a tune-up fight may be a difficult challenge for Spence, believing the timing could make the bout especially demanding.
Comeback fight.
Yeah, it's definitely not recommended, to go straight into the firing line. It would have been better to start off slowly, but, on his caliber, he feels like he doesn't need tune-ups, which is fair enough. But yeah, it's going to be fireworks from the open.
Andre Rozier made an emotional plea, urging Errol Spence Jr. to seriously consider stepping away from boxing.
I feel like I don't need a tune-up because, the proof is in the pudding when you're in the gym. You know how you're going to fight once you're in the gym, and when you train and when you're sparring and working out and stuff, you know how you feel. So if I feel good in the training camp and I feel good in sparring, I'm going to feel good in the fight. I'm mentally ready, physically ready. I feel like me and Ronnie Shields have a great game plan. Ronnie Shields been through this numerous of times. So, we'll be 100% ready for anything that, he...
Errol Spence Jr. insists he does not need a tune-up fight, explaining he feels strong, prepared, and confident after productive training camp sessions and consistent work. Interview 7 Errol Spence Jr. is seen training in Philadelphia, sharpening his skills and staying focused as he prepares seriously for an important showdown with Tszyu.
Listen to me or not. I remember we had a chance to buy up the metropolis, the Dallas metropolis, when you was on top of the world. You said call me, I called you. Nothing happened. But that's besides the point. I know you got a lot of money. I know you got your farm, your, what they call it? Probably got a zoo by now, right? But here's the reality of this thing. If you fight Tszyu for $2 to $3 million, listen to what I'm saying. This is what Vegas is telling me. If you fight Tszyu and have to go to Australia, you've destroyed your brand. Literally destroyed your brand. Why did you destroy your brand? Because they need to come to Dallas to fight you so you get all the money. Do you understand? You got to rebuild yourself. You don't go chasing dollars when you can spend the next 3 or 4 years building your...
He expressed deep concern about Spence's long-term health, future quality of life, and the risks of continuing in a physically punishing sport after years of intense competition and damage.
For him to let boxing go. That's my opinion. I don't want to see him get in the ring and at a higher weight and it's been so long and the ring rust and the accident, the injuries. I think he should stay on his ranch, enjoy what he has gotten, be a cowboy cattleman.
The Porterway podcast, hosted by Sean Porter, Anthony Brenna, and Sean Zittel, offers an insightful breakdown of the upcoming clash between Errol Spence Jr. and Tszyu. Porter highlights Spence's ability to vary his punches, mixing lighter shots with sharp bodywork and powerful hooks. He notes that while Terence Crawford made Spence look ineffective in their fight, Tszyu appears sharper and more active in recent performances. However, Spence's size advantage at 154 pounds could play a major role.
Saying from the perspective of an individual, an athlete that has gone through so many trials and tribulations, I think at this point in time, it's not going to help him. If he wants to get a win and then call it a day, I could co-sign to that. But for him to think he's going to relaunch his career, especially at 54, I think that's not a good idea.
A key factor discussed is Spence's jab, which Porter emphasizes as central to his dominance. He questions how Tszyu will handle the constant pressure, especially since Crawford successfully neutralized it. Still, Tszyu's balance and fundamentals stand out, making him a dangerous opponent. Trainer Robert Garcia raises concerns about Spence's long inactivity, suggesting he may not have much left. Meanwhile, Spence's move to a new trainer adds uncertainty. Overall, the discussion reflects intrigue with both fighters, bringing strength, but unanswered questions shape the matchup.
From what I've seen from each of their last fights, Spence 3 years ago against Terence, and again, it's against Terence Crawford, he'll make you not look good. He'll make you not quite look like what you are. But I still think Tszyu is a little sharper punch for punch. The sharp punches he would put together off his combinations, they still look sharper than Errol. But the interesting thing is, Errol Spence, I think, is bigger than him. Even though he's never officially fought at 154, I think Errol's a bigger man than him once he gets up to 54. And the main problem for Tszyu against Errol is going to be that jab. What does he do against that busy, constant jab?
Errol
on Errol's side.
Right?
Yeah, Errol just keeping that jab in his face.
Yeah.
I mean, when Bomac prepared for Terence, he said that's the number one thing we got to take away from him. He fights off his jab. He gets confidence off his jab. He builds off his jab. He dominates you off the jab. So take the jab away, and we got the fight won.
Right.
Tszyu is not Terence Crawford.
Right.
So
Yeah, right. Greg Hackett shares a thoughtful perspective on the upcoming clash between Errol Spence Jr. and Tszyu, describing it as a well-matched and compelling fight. He believes both fighters have endured tough battles, with Spence overcoming setbacks like injuries and his loss to Terence Crawford. Hackett emphasizes that Spence's time away from the ring may have helped him recover physically and mentally. He particularly praises Spence's mindset, noting that his focused and determined attitude signals he is ready to return with purpose.
Errol won't have anything left by the time they do make that fight. And I still saw from Tszyu, he looks sharper to me. And he's been more active.
Did you say Robert Garcia said that?
Yeah, that he doesn't think that Errol's gonna have anything left.
Did he expound on what he meant by that?
Just he hasn't fought in 3 years. He didn't look good in that fight against Terence Crawford. Even when I go back, and again, it's Terence Crawford, but he got off balance a lot. And Tszyu still has a good solid foundation to his legs. When he punches, he doesn't get off balance with his shots.
Does the weight and the new trainer does that factor in at all?
For Errol?
Yeah.
With what is he with Ronnie Shields now?
Yeah.
Maybe.
And he's 54.
I think the weight's going to be good for him. I think he's going to be the bigger man. But
and he with a different trainer.
So what do you think, Rock?
I just think we don't have enough evidence to really,
go off of, right?
However, he admits uncertainty about Spence's sharpness as he has not seen him spar recently. He also points out the psychological edge, referencing Spence's intense demeanor towards Tszyu as a sign he understands the challenge ahead. While Tszyu may view the fight as an opportunity, Hackett warns that both fighters have shown vulnerability in past bouts, with Spence now training under Ronnie Shields instead of Derek James. Hackett expects slight tactical adjustments, including more movement and disciplined use of the jab. Ultimately, he believes success will depend on ring intelligence, timing, and who executes their strategy more effectively.
I think it's a perfect matchup. Perfect matchup because both of them have been through their fair share of, wars and things like that. Errol Spence with the accidents, Errol Spence with the Crawford fight. But I feel like he took enough time off where he could get healthy and get in his bag. You know what I mean? And I think before anything, the attitude matters. The mindset matters. And the attitude and mindset that he's in right now, I love it. I love that mindset.
It's been almost 3 years, Jay. As a trainer, as a fighter, what do you expect?
Honestly, I don't know what to expect as far as his.
Sean Porter believes the fire is far from gone in Errol Spence Jr. as he prepares for a dangerous clash with Tszyu. Porter highlights Spence's fearless mindset, noting his willingness to fight in hostile territory and his past experiences competing internationally. As both an amateur and a professional, he emphasizes that this comeback reflects Spence's identity, rejecting the idea of ring rust or tune-up fights and instead diving straight into a high-risk challenge despite a long layoff and the tough loss to Terence Crawford. Porter sees a motivated fighter determined to prove himself again. 1 foot.
I'm trying to pump gas, that's all. Errol Spence knows exactly what it is. He knows exactly what it is. I'm just glad he took a little break afterwards. He needed the break.
Now, he's not with Derek James no more. He's with Ronnie Shields.
Yeah.
And as a trainer, what would you be trying to add? What would be your focus, your goal heading into that fight?
Same mentality, but I think we're gonna see Errol work behind his jab a little bit more with the movement. I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna see Errol working, but more movement. Not movement like a boxer, but just he's still being a predator, but he's just making sure he moves side to side or move his head or take a step back with his hands up. Just to give you the space enough for you to do what you gotta do, but not do any damage to him.
Bernie the Boxer gave his honest take on the matchup between Errol Spence Jr. and Tszyu, describing it as a solid and meaningful fight. Rather than a tune-up, he emphasized that even though Spence has been out of the ring for a long stretch, the matchup still carries real competitive value, because Tszyu has remained active and is a former world champion in his own right. Bernie expressed respect for Spence's return, pointing out that after roughly 3 years away, it's not just about boxing fitness, but also about life experiences and personal growth outside the sport. In his view, Spence has been through a long buildup of pressure, negotiations, and career development since 2012, and that kind of mental and physical load can take a toll. Still, he believes Spence appears to be in good condition both physically and mentally, and expects him to perform well upon returning.
Back in Errol Spence form, who else is coming back against someone who was just elite? We know that he's, Tszyu is taking his steps back, after the terror that he had in 23, 24, going into 2025. He was on a literal terror. But Errol Spence going overseas, going under the equator, the down under, hostile territory, and the list goes on. And as you heard what Errol said, I've done this as a pro, Sheffield, England. I did this as an amateur, Russia and Azerbaijan, a couple other countries, and my dad actually was in those countries with him.
Your dad was
It was a lot. He also addressed the psychology between fighters, referencing how some pre-fight talk and intensity like comments about retiring an opponent are just part of the sport's mindset games. According to Bernie, fighters often say things to build confidence or hype, but in reality it shouldn't be taken too personally. He stressed that both men are professionals and peers, and trash talk is just part of competition. On the topic of weight, Bernie noted that a catch weight around 158 pounds slightly favors a return like Spence's, since it's closer to middleweight and gives him flexibility, rather than forcing a strict junior middleweight limit. He added that Tszyu has already been operating at or around that range, making the matchup more natural. Overall, Bernie views the fight as a legitimate test for both men, Spence proving he can return at a high level, and Tszyu showing how he handles an elite, experienced former champion coming back into the mix.